Hello everyone, my name is Brandedboss and today I'm looking to play a Pokemon ROM hack which most of you have probably heard about, which is known as Pokemon Unbound. From what I've heard, it's actually a pretty good ROM hack which includes a whole new region, new characters, and a completely original story. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin. I'm immediately given the option to choose a character, so I decided to choose the male character. I want to give him a slightly darker skin tone. I give him red hair, a light blue jacket color because I think it suits him, and when it came to the trim color, it was a bit tricky to choose which trim color, but after some bit of time I decided to give him the dark brown trim color, and after that I needed to name my character, and obviously I had to name myself Brandon. And after I named my character, I had to go through a bunch of options to fully customize the game, such as factoring EVs and IVs. I decided no. I was given the difficulty, and I decided to go with that. I gave myself a hard level cap, and now we're taken into the story where there was a war that happened long ago between Borrius and the Kalos region, where the Borrius king summoned Hoopa to send all of the enemy soldiers back home. When the soldiers thought that the war was over, the Borrius king decided to send his soldiers back to the enemy base, and many men and Pokemon were conscripted to fight, which resulted in Eternal Floette, one of the Kalos King's Pokemon, dying in the process. And due to the loss of Eternal Floette, the Kalos King built a device that was able to restore the life of Eternal Floette, and being unable to forgive the world, he decided to turn this device into a weapon that ultimately ended the war. Now, after the war was over, the king's Pokemon left him, but peace was still yet to come. Survivors of the war wanted compensation from the Borrius king, and when they didn't offer them compensation, they manipulated the dark power of Hoopa in an attempted riot. So the Borrius king gathered Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno and used their power to create a prison sealing the dark power of Hoopa. 16 years ago, we cut back to a descendant of the king talking to Hoopa about how we sent his Pokemon drifting across the sea, as someone is out trying to unleash the dark power of Hoopa and will stop at nothing to accomplish that goal. And the descendant says that Hoopa must protect his son, as the descendant throws Hoopa's Pokeball into the sea and comes across the person who's trying to unleash its power. 15 years later, we cut back to a redhead boy who's talking about trying to accomplish his grandfather's wish of finishing the Great War that happened probably 1,000 years ago, and right then and there, Hoopa's Pokeball washes across the shore as the redhead boy discovers it, and the boy plans on using the power of Hoopa to unleash upon the Eternal Flower. Now we cut back to the present day where Hoopa randomly teleports into my room and approaches me, and for who knows what, teleports me to some unknown place. I'm suddenly teleported into some kind of base where
my mom came and go on the street, bro. Damn.
While I was knocked out cold, Hoopa came towards me and tried to wake me up, but that unfortunately failed. That's when suddenly, the man who found Hoopa 15 years ago came up to it saying how it shouldn't be outside his cube space and how he's tired of its mischievous antics. That's when he decided to leave, and after he left, I suddenly wake up and I find myself in a base that is filled with a bunch of crates. Directly after that, I decided to head south, then turn right, and I found myself a potion. After finding that potion, I decided to head east and head upwards, and that's when I found myself yet another potion. Then after that, I decided to head south down this open passage, and that's when I encountered my rival, Kai. Immediately tries fighting a grunt to tell him to get out of the way before he's immediately humbled by the grunt due to the grunt using his Pokemon.
You're not
That's
that
when
guy,
I
pal,
meet
trust me.
Kai and I introduce myself to Kai, and Kai suggests that me and him team up so he can find a way to get out of here or potentially find another exit, and Kai tells me that the entire reason he came down here was that he was looking for his parents. Anyways, after that, me and Kai we decided to head up this box which we heard Pokemon screams coming from, and I broke the lock, and all of a sudden, 3 pseudo-legendaries came out in the form of Beldum, Gible, and Larvitar. I didn't know which one to pick, but after some time, I decided to go with Gible. It did have a sassy nature which isn't the best, but after that I decided to name her Rika, and Kai chose a Larvitar, and after Beldum left disheartened, me and Kai decided to head on over to the grunts that was guarding the door. The grunts tried to intimidate us, but me and Kai decided to team up and we were engaged in a Pokemon battle. The battle began with me sending out Rika and Kai sending out his Larvitar. I instruct Rika to use Metal Claw on the Inkay while Larvitar used Rock Throw on the Skorupi, dealing super effective damage. Rika did get hit by a peck, but Rika was able to land her Metal Claw which dealt not too much damage, and Larvitar knocked out the Skorupi with one last Rock Throw. Larvitar then again used Rock Throw in the Inkay while Rika got hit by a peck, but due to the berry juice that she was holding, she was able to recover some HP, and she was also able to deal the finishing blow to Inkay using Metal Claw. Rika grew to level 11, which was pretty good, but I kid you not, immediately after the battle, Kai instructed his Larvitar to assault the grunts, which ended up resulting in the grunts leaving, and Kai says that immediately when I head back to Frozen Heights, he wants to have a battle with me as he was impressed with my skills. But seriously, did this man just assault someone and potentially give them PTSD? Man, that poor grunt. I wonder what was on his mind during that event. Previously.
No. Wait.
As I was walking towards the exit, I'm immediately taken into a cutscene of some mafia dude and the scientist basically talking about these creatures that are known as shadow warriors that have the complete immunity to extreme heat and extreme cold, but they don't have the immunity to electricity. That's when suddenly this dude called Marlin and the grunts that Kai assaulted came in talking about how their target relocated and how they're planning to retrieve some package that will soon be arriving. Marlin tells this mafia dude about how me and Kai escaped the base and how this grunts let us escape, and they were also talking about how I saw nothing relevant and how Kai somehow stumbled into their lab. And the mafia dude is trying to make sure that their base isn't, revealed, and how their main priority is trying to obtain that package. And Marlin says that he has a plan to try and obtain the package, which will also involve the grunts that Kai assaulted. Now, once the cutscene ends, I'm immediately taken out of the exit of their base and I walk towards Frozen Heights, and that's when I encounter Kai and Professor Log, the professor for the Borrius region, who is talking about how he was planning on giving Kai a Pokemon one day, and Kai is talking about some spiel how he expected it immediately. I don't know what they're talking about. And Professor Log is talking about how Kai has been trying to look for his parents, and Professor Log says that no one has seen them in years before Kai tries to prove his strength by immediately taking me into a Pokemon battle. The battle begins with me taking out Rika and Kai taking out his Larvitar. Larvitar used Bite and I instruct Rika to use Metal Claw, which dealt super effective damage, almost half of Larvitar's health. Larvitar then again uses Bite, but I instruct Rika one last time to use Metal Claw, which ended the battle. Rika gained some experience points, which is not too bad, and the battle ended. When the battle ended, Professor Log says that I was intrigued by a battle and that our Pokemon have the potential to be very strong one day. That's when Kai decides to leave, and me and Professor Log decide to talk for a bit. And Professor Log decides to give me an errand, which is to go retrieve a package at the Town Pokemart. He gives me a repel to make the journey easier, and he also gave me a Pokedex which he received from Professor Oak to give to some new upcoming trainers. And he also gave me like a bunch of Pokeballs so that I could catch a few Pokemon to register into my Pokedex. I decided to head on home to inform my mother about what happened to me. When I informed her about what happened to me, she says that she's glad that I was safe and that if my father was still here, he would be proud of me. That's when she gave me a super cute mission log, which basically keeps track of any errands that I've been asked to do, and she also gave me a caution box, which allows me to change my clothes at any point in the story. Once I've had that conversation with my mom, I decided to head on over to Route 1, where I decided to run in the grass for a bit until I found myself a Vanillite. I immediately sent out Rika and I instructed her to deal damage using a few tackles until I was able to capture it with a Pokeball. Once I caught Vanillites, I decided to head on over to Town, where I was asked to retrieve a package from Professor Log. When I entered the Pokemon, some shady guy somehow recognized me before immediately running away. I decided to tell the clerk at the Pokemon, and he told me that that guy just stole the package that I was supposed to retrieve. Immediately upon exit, I decided to chase after the guy who stole the package, and when I arrived at Route 1, I was taken into a cutscene where Mullen and the guy who stole the package are talking about how he successfully stole it, and how Mullen is heading north of Frozen Heights to go retrieve his target. I decided to follow after them until I arrived back at Frozen Heights, where I'm transitioned into a cutscene where Mullen and the Shadow Warriors are performing some sort of ritual to summon Articuno, and Mullen instructs the Shadow Warriors to restrain it while he uses some of the Pokeballs from Professor Locke's package to capture it. As they're trying to head back, I stood in the way, and Mullen instructs one of the grunts to try and stall me as they make their escape. And I was immediately taken into a battle. Now, the battle began with me sending out Rika and the grunts sending out the Snorunt. I instruct Rika to set up Sandstorm as the Snorunt gets buffeted by the Sandstorm. Then after that, I instruct Rika to use Metal Claw, which dealt a lot of damage as it was super effective, and I instruct her again to use another Metal Claw, finishing the battle. Before the grunt left, the grunt gave me back Professor Locke's parcel. I decided to head back to Professor Locke's cabin to give him back his parcel. When Professor Locke inspected his parcel, he asked me on where the Master Balls were. I told him that Mullen and the Shadow Warriors used the Master Balls to capture Articuno, and he gave me another errand to meet an old friend of his living in Driscoll Town, as he might know what's going on. He said that I can get to Driscoll Town by going through Icicle Cave before giving me a town map to make the journey easier, and he also gave me Kai's Pokedex in the form of a package, and he told me to give it to him when I arrived there. I decided to head on back to Bellintown, where I encountered an old man, and he said that he would give me a Skunky which he hatched from an egg. I gladly accepted, and it had a lax nature, and I named the Stunky Dexter. After I named Dexter, I decided to head on over to Icicle Cave, and immediately upon entrance, I'm transitioned into a cutscene of an Alolan Sandslash digging a hole into a cave. After that, I decided to explore the cave for a bit, and as I completed an ice puzzle, and I came across an area with a Chansey, and after healing myself, I decided to catch a few new Pokemon such as Fuel, Makuhita, and a Roggenrola, which I named Nava. After I caught them, I decided to challenge a few trainers, including this black belt dude, and after all of that, I decided to climb down this ladder. And once I climbed down the ladder, I decided to run down a flight of stairs, and that's when suddenly I encountered Kai. I decided to give Kai the Pokedex that Professor Locke gave me, and that's when suddenly Kai challenges me to a Pokemon battle. Now, the battle begins with me sending out Dexter and Kai sending out a Swinub. I instruct Dexter to use Flame Burst, which dealt a lot of damage as it was super effective, but in the process, Swinub used Mud Slap, which lowered my accuracy and was also super effective. That's when Kai withdrew his Swinub and sent out his Larvitar, negating the Flame Burst. That's when suddenly I returned Dexter and I send out our new team member Makuhita. Yes, he did get hit by a rock throw, but I instructed Makuhita to use Arm Thrust, which was luckily able to kill the Larvitar. As a result, Makuhita grew to level 11 as I withdraw Makuhita and sent out yet another team member in the form of Spheal, as Kai sent out his Swinub, which was his last team member. I instruct Spheal to use Water Gun, but he did get hit in the process by Swinub's Flail, but nonetheless, we prevailed and the battle was ended. Immediately after the battle, Kai decides that he will help me to fill in the Pokedex as it will help him to become stronger, and just before he left, he decided to give me some safety goggles as he says that the Driscoll Town gym leader kept on using powder moves like Sleep Powder and how it would be useful during my gym challenge. After Kai left, I decided to explore the Icicle Cave and completing an ice puzzle along the way, and immediately upon exiting, I'm taken into a cutscene where Marlin and the Shadow Grunts are talking about their next operation towards the Cinder Volcano to obtain their target, and how they must remain vigilant and keep a low profile as they mustn't be seen by trainers as that could blow their cover. Immediately after they left, this yellow-haired girl came up to me talking about how the guy to the right of her has some psychic powers and how he can teleport me to Driscoll Town. And after healing my Pokemon team, I decided to head on over to the Porygon-like PC, and that's when I decided to deposit the Vanillites that I found on Route 1, as well as one of my newest team member in the form of Nava the Rock'n'Roller. After that, I decided to head on over to the Psychic, and they asked me if I wanted to be teleported to Driscoll Town so that I could avoid all of the trainers on Battle Road. I gladly accepted, and that's when I was miraculously teleported into Driscoll Town, and immediately upon entering the town, I decided to head on over to the Pokemon Center to heal my team for a bit. And once I healed my team, I decided to head south of Driscoll Town to head on over to this blue building that is known as the Battle House. This is where I'll be spending most of my time, as this is a place for my Pokemon to grind so they can become strong. Immediately upon entering, I'm greeted by a man who is wearing a green hat, and yeah, this will be the place where I'll be grinding off screen, and once I'm done grinding, I'll upload the next video in probably a few days. It depends on how busy I am, but yeah guys, I guess that's the end of the video, and to those who sticked around for this long, I'm extremely grateful for your support, and if you enjoyed the video and you like content like this, you can like and subscribe if you want to, but yeah. Without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video and have a good day. Bye!